At your leisure.
Call the meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, be with us this evening as we do the business for the city and the community, the good and welfare of the community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
This is item C, approval of agenda. So this is approved agenda for today, which is May 8, 2023, regular planning commission meeting.
I move to approve the agenda of May 8, 2023. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Item D, citizens' comments. So at this point, we would allow anybody to comment on anything that they feel that they would like to comment on. You have to state your first and last name and where you reside. If you hear of any agenda items, you will have your chance to speak during those agenda items. At this point, Mr. Chair, if you want, you can open citizens' comments.
We'll open citizen comments.
You're welcome to it this time? Okay. Mr. Chair, if you want to, you can close citizens' comments.
Close citizens' comments.
Very good. Item E is approval of minutes. So this is to approve the Planning Commission regular meeting minutes for April 10th. Just as a reminder, we had a zone change for Ben Healy Land, case number zone 23-1. We had a discussion about special use for a temporary building. We had the preliminary plat for 167th West Edition and a discussion about boat and RV storage on a commercial lot.
Make a motion to approve the agenda for the April 10th meeting. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Very good. This is item F, Board of Zoning Appeals. This is item F1. This is a conditional use permit for a detached garage, case number CUP 23-1. So quick background, Sean Kane has submitted an application for a conditional use permit, CUP, to add a detached garage and pool house to a property that exceeds 1,440 square feet. The current subdivision regulations state that the detached garage cannot exceed that 1,440 square feet unless a conditional use permit has been approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals, the BZA, for a larger structure. Conditional use permit requires publication in the city newspaper and 20 days to elapse before they can be considered by the BZA. The CUP also requires letters be sent out to everyone within 200 feet of the property within city limits and 1,000 feet outside city limits. So this is according to Article 6, 100.b of the subdivision regulations. Permitted accessory uses, any structure or use that complies with the terms of Section 6, 100a may be allowed as an accessory use or structure that may be included but is not limited to the following. Off-street parking and loading spaces regulated by Article 5 of these regulations, including detached garages and carports on lots for single and two-family dwelling units and all types of manufactured or mobile homes. Such structures may contain incidental space for storage and other uses and are limited to one each per zoning lot, not over 1,440 square feet in gross floor area for a garage and 400 for a carport, unless the conditional use is approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals for a larger structure. The Board of Zoning Appeals is considering improving a detached garage that exceeds that maximum at 1,440. Property owners are asking for 2,312 square feet. The request does not exceed the maximum lot coverage of 35%. The lot square feet is 41,000. The total lot coverage, which is the house plus the detached garage, plus the covered porch, is 5,300. Total lot coverage percent is around 12.9 or 13%. All setback regulations are being met. This is 2009 North Hawkins Lane. This is in the Elkridge edition. This lot is just under an acre. It's around 0.94. This is existing house, the pool that's being proposed, and then the new garage that's under consideration today. These are some of the concept images that have been submitted. Public notice was given incurring a small cost. Legally, it's approved as the form. It is recommended the Board of Zoning Adjustment approve the conditional use permit for the detached garage at 2009 North Hawkins Lane, case number CUP-23-1. I believe Mr. King is here. Would you like to come up?
Just here if you guys have any questions for me.
There you go. If you have any questions for the applicant, there he is. If you have any questions for me, feel free.
What was the rationale for the 1440? Why that number?
Good question. Well, one, we were getting a lot of conditional use permit applications to exceed the original 1740, which was the original. And as you know, we were in Kansas, and in Kansas, most people have at least one RV, 3 boats, a riding lawnmower, 3 John boats, and an RV. And so typically what you're seeing is a lot of requests to exceed that detached garage square footage, because it doubles as not only a carport, but you can add, additional, I guess, I don't know what you call them, toys or anything else that you want to put in there. So that's what we saw, a lot of those. And it started about 2019 when we started seeing several of these come through. And so instead of approving a conditional use permit all the time, we decided to increase the detached garage allowable square footage from 740 to 1440. I believe actually it was 720, so we just doubled it from 720 to 1440. We're still seeing, obviously, conditional use permits that exceed the 1440 as we're seeing today, but that's predominantly why Kansas is a very outdoor state. So. Also, another one of the rationales behind that was that we see a lot of RVs in driveways, and we try to avoid that because it can be a sight hazard for people that are on bikes. And so if you can't see around the RV and somebody's on a bike, and they can get hit. So by having them in detached garages or RV storage is preferable.
I was wondering about the drainage easement, but on the back, it looks like 77 feet from the property line and 6 feet off of the easement.
So that'd be a drainage utility easement here, and this one over here is a utility easement on the east side.
And notice that?
There's no easements on this side.
Or
No, there's an easement here and an easement here. So this would be the east side, this is the west side, south side, and then this is the north side over here. You can see the flume for the easement over here, and then it goes all the way back. This is the end of the property line here. This is common area back here, but there would be an additional drainage and utility easement. We typically stick sewer back here at the north end. So it doubles as a utility easement, but also drainage. But here you can see where the actual easement is for that drainage concrete flume as it dumps into the pond back here. There's no easement on over here on this side.
Okay.
We've approved it in the past for the same addition. Oversight, garages. They're big lots. I don't have any issues with it.
I'll make a motion we approve the CUP -23-1 as is.
Who wants to take that one? Commissioner Hayden? Very good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Unanimous, 7-0. Spend if you want. You can stay for the rest of the evening, or if not, have a good day. You can submit a building permit. This is item F.2. This is for the special use application, seasonal bar and outdoor venue, case number SUP-23-1. As a quick background, Ben Healy of Healy Investments has submitted an application for a special use permit, SUP. The use will be for a seasonal temporary bar outdoor venue located around 183rd Street and US 54 across from Walmart. The developer introduced the possibility on April 10th, 2023 before the Planning Commission determined if the idea would be possible. Planning Commission indicated they did not foresee any potential problems with the proposed idea. The applicant is now going through the formal process of applying for a special use application to forego certain subdivision regulations that would pertain to permanent structures and is seeking approval for the seasonal bar and outdoor venue. It was mentioned during the regular Planning Commission meeting on April 10th that if the Planning Commission felt that they wanted to place a time limit on the special use, this request could be conveyed to the City Council. The final decision of the SUP would be before the City Council. So the Planning Commission is reviewing if they want to approve a special use permit for a temporary seasonal bar located across from Walmart on the east side of 183rd. This is found under Article 13, Amendment, Section 101. Because of particular factors associated with the activities, certain uses which might have an adverse effect upon nearby properties or upon the character and future development of the district are not permitted outright in districts, but are allowed as special uses when their proposed location is supplemented by additional conditions such as to make the use considered compatible with the surrounding property, the neighborhood, and the zoning district. Temporary uses are outlined in Article 6.101. A bar is not outlined in Article 6, so the developer is asking if they can be considered for the temporary use with a special use permit. Developer is asking for temporary use delineation such that the general provisions under Article 3, 100.b for no uses of old structures would not apply. New uses of old structures would require all the zoning and subdivision regulations to come into play. An SUP or special use permit needs to be reviewed by the Planning Commission and then approved by the City Council. Publication is also required, allowing 20 days to elapse prior to consideration by the Planning Commission. City Attorney confirmed that special use can be approved with a time limit such that if the Planning Commission and City Council wanted to limit the time of the special use, it could be considered. This is the location. This was annexed earlier this year and rezoned through the Planning Commission and through the City Council. As mentioned, this came before the Planning Commission at the last regular meeting, And it went also before the city council, and there was no indication of any adverse impacts or the possibility that it would not perform adequately. Here's a concept rendering as provided by Law Kingdom, which is the architecture firm provided by the developer. As you've probably, some of you have seen, this house that was indicated out right away has been demolished and the trees removed. So that's since been removed. And a lot of mitigation in terms of improvements to the land have actually undergone Ben Healy land. As mentioned at the last meeting, the question about time and use and when it would be open has come to play. This is what was submitted by the developer. Days of the week to be open would include for the summer schedule, Tuesday through Sunday. The fall schedule would be after Labor Day, Thursday through Sunday. Times to be open would be Tuesday through Thursday, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., Friday, Saturday, noon to midnight, Sunday, noon to 8 p.m. Months to be active would be May through October. Would like to be open for the holiday activities around Thanksgiving and Christmas. The years of operation for duration of the special use would be 2023 and 2024, with perhaps the possibility of a third option, as mentioned by the Planning Commission at the last regular Planning Commission meeting. Financially, there would be a public notice which was given, incurring a small cost. As a special use, it would also have to have an ordinance published in the city newspaper, which would happen during the city council meeting. Legally, it's approved as the form. It is recommended the Board of Zoning Adjustment approve the special use application for the seasonal bar and outdoor venue case number SUP 23-1. The developer, Ben Healy, is behind me if you do have any questions for him. At this point, open up for deliberation, comments, questions. I know some of you weren't here at the last regular meeting. Feel free to ask any questions. As mentioned, the developer is here, so if you do want to be caught up on the subject matter.
What's the parking lot gonna be?
It's going to be gravel and dirt. As a seasonal temporary use, he's foregoing some of the subdivision regulations that would typically be required of a permanent structure. The reason behind that being, one, this in the foreseeable future would be all demolished and paved for more of a big box or future commercial use, and so the idea of putting money up front now might simply be cost prohibitive if it's all going to be demolished in the future. I do believe, though, there was some questions about ADA requirements for paving. I think were you able to address that with maybe CD that they mentioned? I don't know if Law Kingdom talked about that.
Yeah, the MABC we are working with, and we have a meeting. I think Wednesday we're meeting with MABCD. Obviously pending approvals here, and we can just guess on what they're going to require, and it'll be a 88 parking spots we expect them to ask us to do, which we will. And I think it's going to be, as far as parking spots in general and handicap parking, it'll be a ratio of how many, what our capacity is expected to be and how many spots we have. So I don't know those ratios, the architects do, but Law Kingdom is working on that, and we do have an MABCD meeting this Wednesday to just kind of preliminarily work through some stuff, again, pending approval here. So, and obviously we follow whatever zone, or I want to say not zoning, but yeah, regulations that they require us to do.
I'm seeing a stage. You plan on having concerts?
I do. Do you have a clicker?
I do.
Which
rebar do you like?
Okay. So I believe it's drawn in right here. So highway is here, and this is a stage area for band to come in. Maybe we do something on a Saturday night, something like that. But yes, here, which is about as far away from here or anything we can get from. But yes, that is drawn in right there. I believe these are fire pits. I don't think we really plan on having a bunch of fire pits. We were just talking about it before. A fire pit picture has been submitted to MABCD for a meeting, and we're likely going to do one or two if it's approved, and that's okay. The fire marshal will be there at that meeting, by the way, and some other county officials, so everybody will be able to chime in on that kind of thing. And if they tell us no, then I guess we won't have a fire pit. I think these are drawn in as covered. Really, these are just outdoor canopies to provide shade. This is the old barn that we like to operate a bar area out of. This area here will be food trucks. This likely will probably extend back just a little bit. But we've got several entrances. The architect says MABCD may require more than 2. This is, having a liquor license, the state's going to require, everybody's going to have their own little requirements, but this entire area will have to be fenced. And we'll have a couple of entry points. Right now, I think we just have 2 drawn in, here and here. Architects have said we may have to put a 3rd, depending on what MABCD says. I think this is just an activity area, so you'd be looking at cornhole, maybe spike ball. I don't remember what else. Just some outdoor games for kids and adults to play. And then I think this was also another activity area. Maybe we had slated this. I can't see what that says, if it says sand area, but whether we have sand or artificial turf, I think these are both just kind of outdoor activity areas. Again, mostly just sitting and bar, food trucks, parking.
The food trucks are gonna be your main food service, or are you gonna serve food out of the bar area?
Yes, they will be the main. We will, pending approval, we will probably ask someone to come out with smoker, if that is okay. And we will likely have, like a Blackstone grill to make very simple burgers, hot dogs, something inexpensive for the kids, especially to get this, so the family didn't have to be in between games spending $26 at a food truck. We'll probably do something very simple and put that along out there with the food trucks outside and serve that food in with the bar, which again would be simple, like a aluminum wrapped up hamburger hot dog.
What about restaurants?
Oh, good question. These, I believe it's here. Mike, am I right with that? With the porta potties?
It's your project.
Yeah, because again, I should have reviewed it right before I came. I didn't. I believe this right here is the area that we have slated for porta potties. And again, we would ask, MABCD would come in there and say, all right, well, this is your capacity based on, I think they do it on a number of square feet. Say you can have 1 person for every 15 square feet, something like that. So they'll run a ratio and they'll say, okay, if your capacity is X, you're going to need X number of porta potties. So that's the area. How many we will need to have will kind of be said by MABCD, I think. Now, I don't expect to have, this whole thing lined up with porta potties. I expect something in the range of 10 or less, maybe quite a bit less. I'm really not sure, but that is the area. So it's kind of in the corner. Wind typically is coming this way. The architects kind of gave us that thought of, well, try to put that over there in case there's any smell, go to the highway. So we have, I have a good friend that runs a septic service, and his name is Trey Mosley, and he will be servicing this if we're approved. So, we plan on having clean and very timely service on those things if we are able to do this. That is the area right there in the corner where it's not a lot of traffic.
What's the main surface area?
So here, gravel drive.
Yeah. I'm talking inside the fence.
Inside the fence is going to be, we're going to have a mix of artificial turf. I'm not sure on really artificial turf, possibly sand and grass area. So if anywhere is needed with gravel, we can, but I think most of what we were talking about was artificial turf and natural grass.
What
talk about trash, waste handling?
It seems like we did, and it was something that I didn't draw in. So this will be kind of the utility area. We'll have trucks come in and service here, and we expect to kind of have the same trash dumpster back in that area. So throughout the area, we'll have multiple trash cans. We'll have employees, emptying those, and those will all come here, and, have some kind of dumpster that's serviced regularly.
Is there any kind of requirement for the dumpster or the porta potties?
Really, I mean, the thing is, typically you have a dumpster that's walled off. In this case, it's like I said, when he's going for special use, it's not, the provisions are kind of being waived. If the special use goes for that, he would have additional provisions. But it would just be a free-floating dumpster that he would have to get picked up, just like any other dumpster. Porta potties, obviously grease is gonna have to get pumped out of there. If you have food trucks, usually the grease is captured in the food truck. So if you're gonna have an open, burger joint or something of that nature, you're gonna have to collect the grease. You can't just dump it all back. So those are just things that I guess they consider for managing the property. The regulations, no, since we're foregoing most of the regulations of the special use, since it's all temporary, then not particularly. But yeah, porta potties, I mean, it's very similar to, like, if you imagine National Night Out or, Fall Fest. Imagine that, except just for a longer duration of time. So that's kind of what we're going for. And I know you avoid the pumpkin patch idea, but I still go back to it. Every time I go to Klossmeyer, it's the same thing. You have a seasonal use that typically would cover something like a pumpkin patch or a corn maze or something along those lines. But since a bar, outdoor venue is not covered under a seasonal use, he's asking for a special use to try to go about it that way.
Yes, sir. Any other questions right now you think of? Thank you.
Thank you.
So as mentioned at the last meeting, there's just a matter of time, when it's going to be open, et cetera. These are what he's proposing. So the application, as mentioned, because that question came up, is can you put a time limit on a special use? And so the attorney said you can. And so if you felt that a 2023, 2024 special use would be acceptable with possibly provision for a third-year option, you could consider it that way if you wanted to.
How far was it notified?
We sent it out.
How far out? What's the distance?
Oh.
Houses to the south?
That's right, yeah. So this is the only residential property that is in proximity. Everything else is commercial. And so it had to go out 200 feet and then 1,000 feet if it was in the county. So we sent out letters per the state law requirements for special use. We treated it just like we would a rezoning.
Right.
Sent out all the letters, and any comments that we got back, the only ones we got were from the state. The state, Kansas Department of Transportation showed up at the last meeting and spoke because they got a letter, obviously. And so they wanted the Planning Commission to know that he had limited access here because the state actually owns this portion here. In the future, there would possibly be a right-of-way, a frontage road that would connect and run up this way. So they just wanted that to be aware that they've given him temporary access over here at this location, because you can see that the state technically owns that down here. House of Blues, that's this property over here. That's literally the name is House of Blues. He showed up and said he had no objection. So that was at the last meeting.
Discussion? Not even on the duration?
10 years. 10 years. Your option.
10 years.
Just ask
This
it.
will wind up
Anyway,
Say that again.
this will wind up being part of the easy development.
The Healy development is, so this is Ben Healy behind us, of course, but the PUD, the pointer you can't see it, but it's south of here. So the PUD development south, this was rezoned as just general commercial. The assumption would be maybe since it's got such high visibility, especially now since the house went away, the trees went away, it's got high visibility 54, so you're going to be looking at possibly a gas station or something else that's going to have high visibility. It's very marketable at this point since you're literally going to have the freeway and nothing else separating this development from 54, which is increasing in traffic every year or so.
It'd be nice to draw attention to that area before that development goes in, so.
motion to approve the special use application for the seasonal bar and outdoor venue case SUP-23-1 through 2025 with the option for another year.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous? Very good, thank you very much. You guys welcome to stay the rest of the night, or if not?
Hopefully keep going. Again, thank you all.
Thank
have
you.
fun, have a
Thank
good
you.
city. So.
See you.
Item G, there is none, that's old business. This is item H, new business. This is item H.1, administrative fee for temporary note petitions. So quick background, developers submit petitions to City Council for consideration of financing improvements. These petitions ask the city if they'd be willing to incur debt to finance the improvements and have the debt be assessed against the properties over time. Those petitions come with cost estimates, contingency fees, administrative fees for that phase of the development. When the temporary notes get converted to permanent financing in the form of bonds, there is a submittal to the bond attorneys which outline those costs such as construction, engineering, administration, etc. The city would like to add a 5% cost for administration based on the true and actual construction cost to the total overall cost of that phase of the development. It would then be sent off to the county for a special assessment. This fee would help recover costs incurred by the city for work done on new developments. This would help prevent the city at large covering those costs through the general fund, which is cash flowed by tax collection. So this is item H1 analysis. The Planning Commission is reviewing adding additional text to Article 12, Section 133.b of the subdivision regulations. Section 1 text change would be outlined under Article 12 as mentioned. Section 133b shall hereby be changed to read as follows. All the black would stay as is. The green is what we're asking to add an additional text to. But the petitions, as you can read here, and then green would be as read verbatim. Costs for improvements designed, constructed, managed, engineered, and financed through the petition and temporary note and bond process shall include administrative fee paid to the city in an amount equal to 5%. 5%, as mentioned, that's actually a state requirement. We can't exceed this 5%. The 5% fee shall be determined based on the true and actual design and construction costs of that phase of development and collected at the completion of assessment proceedings for that phase of development. And so basically what we're talking about here is that we receive petitions, let's say it's $1 million for improvements, and during that process, that phase, let's say it's like Arbor Creek Phase 1 or whatever, however you want to view it, after it's done, we tally up all of our invoices, and let's say it's $800,000 and $700,000 was for construction. We would add 5% of $700,000 to that total cost and submit it to the bond council. They would tally it and divide it what's called pro rata or equally amongst all those lots and submit it to the county for assessment for tax purposes. And so typically what you're going to see is a developer will sign the petitions when they're submitted saying that he's okay with this cost. So if it's $1 million, he's okay with that cost. Typically these costs come in under that petition amount, and then we just tack on that additional amount for costs to be recouped by the city. If we don't collect them, we just use them to pay off the bonds faster. So that's typically what we do. So this just allows us to recoup some of the costs incurred that work I do and other city staff members do, instead of having it to be paid directly by the general fund. That was a lot, so if you guys have questions about that, feel free to ask.
Will this go back to all the recent developments that have been approved?
Yes.
Or just everything going forward?
Yes, anything that hasn't been turned into permanent financing. So if it's already been turned into permanent financing, for example, Arbor Creek Phase 1 has already been turned into permanent financing. But when Arbor Creek Phase 2 goes into the process of being turned into permanent financing, we can apply 5% to that. But-
It would include everything else that's been over the past 6 months.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, anything that has been turned into permanent financing or bond, in terms of bonds that have been assessed to properties. If they've already gone through the assessment process hearing, which we recently did with Arbor Creek Phase 1, then that's kind of done. But if it hasn't yet, we could assess it 5%.
Is that the plan?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry,
Absolutely. As soon as it gets adopted as formal policy, the admin fee, since it is an inclusion into the subdivision regulations, we had to publish it in the city newspaper, take it to the Planning Commission first, and then take it to City Council. And then there's an ordinance which is attached as Exhibit H1A in your agendas that outlines that ordinance, which is basically exactly what you're seeing here. And that would be included in the subdivision regulations as sort of general guidelines. And then when the city treasurer tallies up all the invoices that we have and submits them, he will include a 5% for the total construction cost And if he forgets to add that 5%, the bond council will remind us that we need that 5% added so that we don't lose out on any potential revenue for the city.
I think it's a good idea, an average year. I think it's a good idea. An average year, how much are we talking, do you have any concept of what?
An average year, I don't have an average. I would say we issue a lot of debt. We've already issued about 8 million. I think we've actually now, we're in the process. On May 15th, we'll issue a total of 11.5 million. So let's say if it's 10 million on average per year, then we're talking about $500,000 that the city would recoup. Yes, we basically emulated the policy of Bel Air. Wichita's a little bit different, but Wichita's always different. So they always have additional fees that they tack on and additional administrative costs that tend to come up. But it's very similar to Bel Air's. We just basically copied a lot of their policy. I think there's some other cities that do it as well, but I can't say definitively.
Upfront, hit the cost of the income. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the proposed change to Article 12, Section 133B of the subdivision regulation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. This is item I, staff report. So the joint workshop, this is an update reminder, general reminder, the governing body has agreed to meet on June 12th at 7 p.m. during the regular planning commission meeting, such that the planning commission can host the city council for a joint workshop. Discussion items will include the special zoning for older lots in Goddard and percentage of duplexes in newer developments. As mentioned, there are some lots in the part of Goddard south of 54, north of Santa Fe, that are 50 by 100. And they're in the subdivision regulations. It's difficult to determine if some of those houses were burned down or demolished by natural disaster or otherwise, if they can be rebuilt. So the planning commission this has been brought up to planning commission and city council, and so they decided that it would be a good idea to discuss that during the joint workshop of a possible overlay district to help, mitigate that concern. Another item, would be a percentage of duplexes in newer developments. As you know, duplexes are a hot topic item for the last 4 years since I've been here, and it's probably going to be a topic item for the foreseeable future. And so that's a question that planning commission and city council can hash out between themselves about what is an acceptable ratio especially for new developments. In terms of I2 economic update, Streets Meat Locker, as you have seen, has pulled their building permit for 111 North Main. The permit fee was $6,000, and the building valuation is $1.1 million. Construction is anticipated to begin shortly. In fact, it's already begun, so there you go. But it's very ideal. There's been 7 single-family building permits for the month of April, averaging $260,486. The city collected $34,409 in permit fees, tap fees, and equity fees. And so this would be used, equity fees in particular, for future sewer and water infrastructure. That's it for my report. At this point, we're moving on to item J, which is planning commissioner comments.
No comment?
No?
Okay. If there's no comments, then I can move on to K, adjournment. Mr. Chair, it's your pleasure.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
All second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.